to work with other fish to get anything done.
The Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and your local cable provider presents Cable Reports. Join us now as Cable Reports brings you up to date on current issues facing the Commonwealth through discussions with your local legislators and other policymakers from across Virginia.
Welcome from the General Assembly in the City of Richmond. I'm Woody Evans for Cable Reports and Comcast. And please welcome one of our special guests, Delegate Riley Ingram. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Woody. Nice to see you.
You know, we were talking earlier that there was probably quite a transition from being a mayor of a small municipality to becoming a delegate here in the General Assembly. How was that transition for you?
Woody, let's see, I've been here now since January of 1992, a little over 20 years, and it is a big transition, and let me tell you, when you're mayor of the city of Hopewell, you're a big fish in a little bitty pond, so you have a lot of say-so as to what goes on. Over here, you're a little bitty fish in a great big pond, and you have to work with other fish in order to get things done. It's a big, big difference. And being the mayor, you work with people to get things done, but over here you have to work with a lot more people. And the other big difference, Woody, is I was telling some people in my office earlier, they play hardball. I mean, at the local level, you more or less are playing softball, and you know the ball comes at you at a decent speed. Over here, the ball's coming at you 100 miles an hour, and when you step up the plate, you better be ready to swing.
But of course, you do chair a very important committee, county, cities, and towns, and
yes,
your background and experience at the local level lends itself to that committee.
Woody, you're exactly right. And being chairman of county, cities, and towns, I've had a couple opportunities to go to other committees and give up county, cities, and towns, but I've always felt that county, cities, and towns is where I enjoy the committee. I have good committee members, and that's local government, and that's where everything runs. And by being a Dillon rule state, the localities they cannot do any more than what the Commonwealth of Virginia allows them to do. So therefore, all charter changes and everything come through the County, Cities, and Towns Committee.
So they're all creatures of the state, and the General Assembly can take away authority and give it.
That's right. But Woody, it's good, because if not, give an example. Let's say that you're driving down Route 1 highway or something, and you're going 15 miles or 10 miles over the speed limit. And the police officer stops you, gives you a ticket, and that locality may charge you $250 for that fine, where another locality may not charge you but $20 or $30. So you do need some, you need the Dillon rule, in my opinion, to make things more uniform across the board.
So we are one day beyond crossover, which means all the House bills have gone over to the Senate, and all the Senate bills have come over to the House. Some people say that you guys are on vacation now because there are far fewer senators.
Well, seriously, on the House side, once we get to this point, with the exception of the budget and a few other things right at the very end of the session, our heavy lifting is over, because the Senate has taken care of most of the bad bills. We still get one or two that we have to take care of. But the House has gotten rid of a lot of bills. So what we pass over the Senate are things that have passed the House. So the Senate doesn't have as much now to deal with, but they have more to deal with now from the House than what they had in the Senate in the beginning. So their work is cut out. But the bills that the House passes and sends over to the Senate, For example, the Senate now has killed all of the transportation issues.
Right.
All of them are gone. The only one that's left is, of course, the governor's bill that is Bill Howell, the Speaker of the House, is carrying. And Woody, I held my nose, so to speak, and voted for that bill because I told the governor I would vote for the bill to get the bill over to the Senate side and then let it go into conference so that we can get some things ironed out. And I don't mind saying right on the air that I would like to see some changes made. I personally would like to see the sales tax either come off or be lowered to 5.5%, and the gasoline tax left where it is, and maybe add 2 or 3 cents to the gasoline tax. And really, the reason I say that is because anyone that is reading the newspaper and seeing the big oil companies are making a ton of money. I'm not talking about millions of dollars. I'm talking about billions of dollars. And if you think that we are going to see that 17.5 cents back in our pocket and a lowering of 17.5 cents at the pump, it's not going to happen. A lot of the convenience stores out here, the gasoline that's put in the ground, that gasoline is owned by the oil companies, and the oil companies they have the merchants selling the gasoline, but they are the ones that are making the big money.
I see.
The merchant there at that store is not making the big money. The other thing is the mom and pop operations are the ones that are owned by the merchant themselves. They're going to keep most of that profit, and rightfully so. That's business, supply and demand. So I don't think that we will see that, and I do think that I don't know what the percentage is. I saw in the Richmond Times-Dispatch this morning that some of the things that I've heard everything from 30% to 35%, but there's no numbers to back it up as to how much gasoline is sold to out-of-state people. But one thing is for sure, we do sell a lot of gas to out-of-state people. If we do away with that gasoline tax, they come through the state of Virginia and pay absolutely nothing unless they stop and they may stop and get a drink or a soda or, a sandwich or something like that, but that sales tax is not going to make up that difference. For the most part, the people of Virginia is going to be paying that sales tax, where the gasoline tax everyone pays. And I know that a lot of people do not agree with that, but I've had a lot of elderly people call me and tell me that the sales tax would hurt them a lot worse than a gasoline tax.
Because they drive a lot less, if at all.
A lot less, if at all. That's exactly right, Woody. That's right. And so I think that's going to be something that we're going to hopefully have a committee of conference so that we'll work out a lot of the differences in that. Also on the House side, and I don't know about the Senate, but on the House side, we did do away with the tolls south of Fredericksburg. And that is a big issue because the traffic, for the most part, is from Fredericksburg north. And then in the Tidewater area, they have a problem. Right. Along 64, right there, especially in the summertime, 64 with the at the Hampton Roads Tunnel.
Right.
The traffic, Woody, is backed up like crazy. It really is, and it's something that we've got to look at. But I don't have a problem with tolls as long as you have an alternative. But I do think that so many of the people have spoken that they do not want the tolls down in the Emporia area, and I want to do what the people would like to have done.
Now, I've been told that at the border, North Carolina having a state gas tax twice what the Virginia gas tax is, you don't see much of a difference. To your point about whether I as a consumer should expect to see that 17.5 cents go away.
That's exactly what we just talked about, Woody. It's not going to do it. And if you'll notice, yes, gasoline in North Carolina is a little bit higher. In most places it is a little bit higher, but it's not 15, 16, 17 cents higher. Right. It may be 2, 3, 4, 5 cents higher, but it's not that much higher. I was talking to someone just last week, and they said that they do fill up with gas before they go into North Carolina because they do save around 5 cents a gallon. And in most cases, you would. But if you took that same scenario and put it to Virginia at 17.5 cents on a gallon, And if that were done away with, and they think that we're going to get that 17.5 cents back, they can look at North Carolina and see that this does not work. Supply and demand.
Now, help me what happened over in the Senate side, because there was a 20-20 tie, and for some reason the lieutenant governor wasn't able to break that tie on the transportation bill. I think maybe it's because it's revenue related, and
I think that's part of what it is. And the lieutenant governor he's a good man. He really is, and I don't think that he wanted to do anything that would cause controversy as to his job as a lieutenant governor. So I don't think that he wanted to do anything that would cause controversy,
right,
so to speak, as far as his job and what he can vote on and what he cannot vote on.
The other interesting component of the governor's transportation package relates to a reliance, some people say misplaced reliance, on action from your friends in Washington, D.C. about the taxing of retail online sales. Now, I understand people say, well, we've got the majority leader now there in Washington. We've got Bob Goodlatte, one of your former colleagues as well, who chairs Judiciary, where that bill is going to go through. We've got two former governors who are U.S. senators who understand the situation here. That bill will pass. Do you think so?
I'm not sure, because at the federal level, just like the state level, there are strong lobby groups in that group, and to see where that's going to end up, I think, is anybody's game. I personally think that it will pass, but I don't know. It's just like a lot of things here. You think that should pass, and they don't pass.
Right. Well, let's talk about two of your bills. One that was unsuccessful again, but persistence has its value. Don't give up, and that's the check cashing bill. The other one relates to the temporary assistance
to
needy families. So talk to us about those.
The temporary assistance needy families, that bill has gone forward. We did not put an enforcement part in it because we don't know what the cost would be. But that bill, what that bill said is that you could not use the temporary assistance needy families, the debit card, that you could not use it for alcohol, ABC store, beer, wine,
gambling,
cigarettes, and tobacco products. Also tattooing, lottery, gambling, lottery tickets, and things like that. Any place where they disrobed, like a paper moon, anything like that. However, the reason that it's hard to enforce is because, see, with that card, you can swipe that card most anywhere and get cash. So they can take the cash and still go anywhere. So where the problem is they will have to program the card some kind of way that you would not be able to use it at these places. And that's where the cost is, and no one knows how much it is. However, having said that, President Obama has signed an executive order on this that by 2014, all the states have to have this in place. So that will come through. I mean, that will pass. Something is going to happen. It will, and if enforcement part and everything, how it's going to be done, I don't know, but it will be done.
So it has to be consistent with federal law by 2014. Otherwise, the state's going to lose some money.
We lose a bunch of money.
And it's already been implemented in terms of food stamps, has it not?
Yes, food stamps. You can only use food stamps for food, and it's programmed that way, and so therefore that is being done. I still think that we can do the temporary assistance needy families basically the same way. It may be a different approach or whatever, but it'll still have to put things in there.
So we want to make sure that these families put food in the mouths of their children and buy baby diapers and milk and that kind of thing.
What we want to do, Woody, you hit it on the head. What we want to do is make sure that our tax dollars are being used for what they're supposed to be used for the people, for the children, to take care of the children, and to make sure that they have a nutritious meal on the table, baby diapers, things like this. It is not for the parents or who the caregivers may be to use those minding your tax dollars to be going to Colonial Downs or to buy lottery tickets or go to the ABC store and buy fifth of bourbon or whatever.
Now, your check cashing bill relates to those who, especially the elderly, who get taken advantage of.
Yes, it's no question about it. And then back just in November, a lady was at home, and a man came up to her door, and he said that he was going to clean her yard up, clean the roof off, and clean her gutters, and put vinyl siding on the outside of her shed, all for $500. But he needed a $200 advance to buy the material. So she writes him a check for $200. Well, she was talking to her son, like 2 hours later, Woody, and her son said, "Mama, you did not do that." And she said, "Yes, it's just $200, and he's going to do all of that for $500. He said, "You need to go stop payment on that check right away." Well, by the time that she tried to stop payment on the check, within 2 hours, the check had already been cashed, no record of it anywhere except where the check had been cashed to the check cashing place with no identification required. And I have photos of places that that say no identification required. And this lady was out of $200. It's not a great deal of money, but for somebody that's on a fixed income, it's a lot of money. And that check was cashed and done within 2 hours with no record as to who cashed the check or anything. So therefore, the police and law enforcement cannot enforce anything because they have no identification. They cannot identify the person, and that person has the $200 and gone.
And of course, I'm sure you have instances of that, unfortunately, with caregivers, caretakers who are relatives as well.
That's right. Well, yes, there was another instance where little Johnny goes into grandmother's house, and he's with his friend. And so Paul, his friend, keeps grandmother busy in the living room. They're talking and watching TV or whatever. And little Johnny goes back in the bedroom, and he takes the last check out of grandma's checkbook. Writes a check to John Jones, okay? And takes it to the check cashing place, has his friend take it to the check cashing place, check cashes the check, no ID required. By the time grandmother finds out that she's out of $200 or $250, I think in this case, but anyway, by the time she finds out that she's out of this money, it's a month later or 2 or 3 weeks later when she gets her bank statement. She's not going to press charges against her grandson.
Right.
So, because first of all, she's 99% sure that's who got it, but she's not going to say anything. So she's out of that money. But if they had identification, and had to keep it on record for a year, then that would be there at that place. When you go to the bank, if you cash a check at the bank, you have to give a thumbprint, photo ID, whatever, to cash a check. But yet the check cashing places, they charge 5%. So therefore, they make their money. But Woody, where they make their big money is off of the undocumented people here in the United States. And what they do is they get a check for $800 for a week's work because they do work, and they work a lot of overtime hours. And so they have a check for $800. Well, they can't cash at the bank. They don't have a bank account, because they're not documented. They're here illegally, okay, came in the country illegally, and so they're undocumented. So therefore, they can't go to the bank and cash the check because they don't want to be identified. So therefore, they go to the check cashing place, no ID required, they cash the check. The check cashing place makes $40. $40. So instead of them getting the $800, the person that cashes the check, they get $760, and then there's no record of it. And I'm just trying to close that loophole. And if anyone out in the audience knows of something that's happened, next year I really do want to go before the committee with all guns loaded. That's right. And see if I can get it passed.
So what's the objection to it?
Woody, I don't know. I don't know, except that there are some people that the check cashing people are against it, and they come up and testify.
It's going to lower their profit. It's going to lower their profit margins.
And it's all because of money. And they want that profit.
Let's turn to education. Someone told me recently unfortunately, that in Petersburg, the schools are in dire shape, that we've actually lost a generation of youngsters there. What's going on there, and how can these proposals that the governor has come up with help?
That is one thing that I back the governor 100% on, is his education program. I honestly think that I don't think, it's true, we are graduating from school, high school, that don't even have the math of a 4th and 5th grade education.
Wow.
And this is wrong. We're not doing these young people any favors by doing this, because they are graduating from high school and they do not know the basics of the education for reading, writing, and arithmetic. And something needs to be done. And we are failing these young people because we are letting them slip through the cracks. We're losing a generation of people that should be much, much better educated than what they are. And we're not doing them any favors, because when they go out there in society and try to get a job, they cannot get a good job because of the fact that they do not have that proper education.
And of course, many of them wind up in our criminal justice system.
That's exactly right, and that is the thing. The old Flam commercial, pay me now, pay me later. And that's what we up against. If we don't take care of these people and take care of these young people and have them trained, and everybody is not college material,
right?
And that's a fact. But we need to have them to have technical skills. We need to have them at least know 4th and 5th grade math in order to graduate from high school. And I think that we need to do this. I think it's something that has to be done. We have, I think it's 4 across the state that have, and I think it's 2 in Norfolk and one in Petersburg, and I've forgotten where they are.
Charter schools? Or failing schools?
No, that are failing.
Failing
that
schools,
are failing.
right,
That the governor is saying that under this bill we're going to take it over and we're going to make it right.
Right. He would, I think, give that authority to some other entity yet to be named that would take over these failing schools.
That's correct.
Right.
And I think that's good, because, you know, when I was in school, of course that's been many years ago, but, you know, I remember when, and myself included, the teacher would actually stay over, and some of them do that now, but not too many. But they would actually stay over to help me through a certain problem or something, and then once I got that and had that down, the other things came a lot easier. And I think that that's what needs to be done today, is these young people, these students that need extra help, they need to get that extra help, because if you get that foundation and you have, you know, it helps you elevate to the next level.
Right.
But if you don't have the basics here, and then you're elevated to here, now you're way behind. And it's no way you can learn at this level if you don't know this level here. And it's just like building the foundation.
Exactly. Apparently, if a child can't read by the 3rd grade, there are predictive indications that are very negative thereafter.
No question, Woody. That's for sure.
Now, in that regard, one of the things the governor wants to do, including raising the salary of teachers, however, is making them more accountable, not only the teachers but the administrators as well. I think that passed the House.
Yes, and that's another big point. We have some excellent teachers. There's no question about it. We have some excellent teachers. And for the most part, if you line up 100 teachers, 95 out of the 100 are really good teachers. But you have some teachers that is strictly a job, and they need to be accountable. They need to be accountable to the students and everything. Now, we also need to be careful, though, Woody, to make sure that we're not judging that particular teacher based on the students that they have, because this teacher here may have a whole bunch of real smart kids.
Sure.
This other teacher may have kids that are in the middle. But then there's another teacher that has the young people that are not as much. Their IQ may not be there. They may be harder to do, special kids or something, that they need more attention. And you can't judge this child And this teacher, based on that, what we need to do is to help this teacher, and this teacher may need 2 teachers in this classroom to help with this group to bring them up.
Right.
Where the teacher that has the real intelligent students, in other words, those kids are going to do good anyway.
Right, right.
And what we need to do is work at that bottom part.
And of course, the governor wants to make it a lot easier for parents to understand how well their schools are doing. Give them a grade from A through F.
That is also excellent, Woody, and here's the reason why. Statewide, then, the parents would know where their school is, whether that school is an A or B or C or D or an F. And it would let the students, let the people, the parents know and the student know as to where they stand on the scale statewide.
Now, you talked about things slowing down a little over on the House side, but Little Bird told me your work is going to increase because you have a special assignment now dealing with our training centers around the Commonwealth with one of your colleagues on the Senate side.
Good point, Woody. Let me tell you, Senator Emmett Hanger and myself are co-chair of the transaction of the training centers out to the community. This came about from a compromise agreement through the Attorney General, Governor's Office, and the Justice Department. And what the Justice Department said at the federal level, they said that we were institutionalizing a lot of these people that did not need to be, that they could function a lot better in group homes and putting them out in the community.
Now, these are some people who've been in these institutions since they were children, right?
Woody, that's exactly right. And that's why we have this committee that is so important, because what we're going to do is we're going to get input from the families, the parents of some of these people have been in these places almost ever since they were just a child. So they've been in there for 30, 40 years, all their life. There are some people that are not going to be able to be moved out of these training centers. So we are open to what we can and cannot do. And what we're looking at now is we may have to have smaller group training centers to house these people that are not able to take care of themselves. And what we're going to do is have the input of the community's involvement into this so that we will know what is best for everyone. Parents, the people that are in the training centers themselves, what is best for them, in addition to a lot of them moving into the group homes and into communities.
Well, we'll end on that note. It sounds like you're going to have a lot of work even beyond this session, so we'll keep in touch with you.
Yes.
Good to see you, Delegate Riley Ingram. We appreciate your public service.
Thank you. Thank you, Woody.
Thank you for watching Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and Comcast. Until next time, I am Woody Evans.